Hello, I am Francisco Nwamba, and welcome to another one of our How to Buy series where we help consumers make informed decisions about pre-owned cars. Today, we want to focus on a nameplate that many South Africans love, and that is the BMW 3 Series, specifically the F30 variant, which was produced here locally between 2012 and 2019. Interestingly, on our website, we have over 950 listings on the BMW 3 Series alone, spanning varying generations. And the cheapest F30 you can buy now will cost you 89,000 Rand for a 2013 model that has 210,000 kilometers on the clock. On the other hand, the most expensive F30 will cost you 529,000 Rand for a 2016 340i model with only 66,000 Ks on the clock. Today, however, we have got the stunning example of a 2014 320i automatic with just over 100,000 kilometers on the clock. And this vehicle was supplied to us by getWorth, who have all of their stock listed on our website. And if you'd like to see the entire offering, just click on the link below.
Power slide into the DMs. WhatsApp the dealer directly from our site. Less phone calls, less awkward.
Let's start with the pre-facelift models, which is the vehicle that we have today. When these vehicles launched in 2012, BMW gave us the choice between a 316i, a 320i, a 328i, a 335i, a 320 diesel, and a 330 diesel. But then 2015 came along and BMW introduced what they call the LCI variants, or the life cycle impulse variants, which basically means facelift. And with that, in typical BMW nature, a lot changed. For instance, the 316i, which used a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, became the 318i, which now used a 3-cylinder turbocharged engine. The engines used in the 320i and the 328i, called the N20 engine, was also changed up to the B48 engine, which was much more reliable. And the name of the 328 became the 330i. From a 335i perspective, the car went from using the N55 engine, which was loved by many BMW fans, but then they brought in the B58 engine, which was loved even more. And the 335i went from 335i to 340i. Today, we want to focus most of our energy on this car, which is a pre-facelift 320i, which uses the N20 engine, which is a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, which produces 135 kilowatts and 270 newton meters. And it was available in both manual and 8-speed automatic. If you're a BMW lover, you'll know that this N20 engine was infamous for its timing chain issues. But not really the timing chain, but rather the guides that the timing chain uses, which were made of a weaker material. And what would happen is the guides would fail and then the timing chain would become loose, which is not a good thing with a vehicle that uses direct petrol injection. And after that, if you left that unfixed, eventually you would end up having engine failure, which is not what you want with a car like this. Trust me. When asking a BMW specialist how much it would cost to repair the timing chain, I was given an approximate figure of 27,000 Rand with labor included. But the same specialist told me that if I had gone directly to BMW, they would have charged me 42,000 Rand without labor. So it's very important to make sure that you get a car that has got the timing chain either serviced or done, because if not, you're going to be paying big moolah. One telltale sign that your BMW might have the timing chain issue is when you start it up and you hear a kind of sound, because that normally means there's a rattle, and a rattle can mean that there's an issue with the timing chain. Another thing you can look out for is when you start the car, if you see the error, drivetrain error, pop up, run away. And sometimes the salesperson might say, don't worry about it, it's nothing, but just say shh. I know, because this video has told me what to look out for, and walk away. But another thing is, if you're looking at the 320d, a 320d normally does sound a bit more kind of vibe. So if that is the case, don't confuse that with the timing chain Another potential issue you might face with the N20 engine is oil leaks and potential oil pump failure. Now, with all the covers up top, it's difficult to see if there are any oil leaks. So we suggest getting nice and low and looking underneath the car. Now, if you look underneath the car, you can see for any sweating at the bottom of the vehicle, or you can look where the vehicle's parked, and if there's a puddle of oil and it feels like oil and it smells like oil, it's most likely oil. But another very obvious thing you can do is start the vehicle, and if there's blue smoke that comes out, I just leave it. Leave the car. Now, because these vehicles use direct injection, these engines tend to sludge up quite quickly. So many people will tell you to rather service your vehicle every 10,000 kilometers as opposed to every 15,000 kilometers, because the idea is fresher oil more regularly in the engine means better lubrication of the engine and other components, and overall a happier engine. And a happier engine means a happier life and a happier wife? I don't know. Sitting inside this 320i, I am very impressed by how well this cabin has aged, and this particular example is very well taken care of. And it's only reached 100,000 kilometers now, and it's a 10-year-old car, which is very good. In this particular car's example, because it's a non-M Sport, I think it actually plays in its favor because the M Sport variants use gloss black and leather door handles. And in my experience, those leather door handles over time start to wear, and you end up getting this gunky material in your hands each time you open and close your door, which is a surefire way to irritate your spouse. Trust me on that. Thankfully, there is a simple fix to that. If you go to an auto trim shop, they can get that sorted out, and they can also look at the side bolsters because these tend to wear quite badly over time. But again, in this car, they still look almost new. When going on your test drive, it's important to note that the F30 series was much softer than the previous generation E90, which was known to be a very stiff ride. The steering in particular in this car is also much smoother, whereas again in the E90, it felt quite hard and sturdy when navigating the wheel. One very important aspect to look out for when driving this car is, of course, vibrations. Now, vibrations can mean different things in different scenarios. When driving, if you've got vibrations at certain speeds, that could be balancing or alignment. When you're braking and you feel that there's a vibration on the steering wheel, it could mean that you need to do brake discs. But if you feel a constant vibration in the car that doesn't feel like it's going to let up, and the vehicle feels overall quite rough in its ride, it might be engine mounts, which are known for going in this particular BMW specifically. But BMWs as a whole are known to feel quite dynamic, so if the F30 that you're test driving feels really boaty, then you might need shocks on your car. The key to buying the perfect F30 BMW for you is finding an example that has been properly maintained and serviced, and a vehicle that generally has been looked after, such as is the case with this car. As somebody who owned an F30 facelift myself, specifically a 330 diesel, I can't recommend the diesel variants enough. But as much as I love my 330D, I would still say go for a 320D because that car has got a proven track record when it comes to reliability, and the vehicle literally sips fuel. So as an exercise, I decided to call up getWorth and get general parts pricing for wear and tear items and compare those costs with what BMW will give me from a pricing perspective. And you'll be surprised at what those costs are in terms of the difference. So front brake pads from getWorth will cost you 1,090 Rand. But at BMW, they will cost you 2,782 Rand, which is almost 3 times the price. So I guess in that instance, getWorth wins. But this is where it gets quite interesting, because front discs from getWorth will cost you 2,290 Rand, whereas at BMW, I was quoted 2,219 Rand. So there's a bit of a saving by going to BMW in this instance. But then when we get to front shocks, again, it gets very interesting because front shocks at getWorth will cost you 3,920 Rand. But at BMW, they will cost you, wait for it, 6,236 Rand, which again is nearly double. So coming to the rear of the vehicle, now this is where I literally nearly fell off my chair. Because rear pads at getWorth for this car will cost you 395 Rand. But at BMW, they'll cost you 1,852 Rand. I can't even work out the percentage of if it's 50%, 100%, 200%, 300% more, but in any case, it's much, much more. Disc, on the other hand, at Goldwagen, 1,455 Rand, but at BMW, 1,529 Rand. So the difference there is quite negligible. But here is where it also gets quite interesting, but in a weird way, because at Goldwagen, you'll pay 3,130 Rand for rear shocks, but then at BMW, you'll pay 3,629 Rand. So the difference again is quite negligible. Overall, the BMW F30 range really gives consumers a lot to choose from, whether you're going for a pre-facelift model or a later variant. But what we decided to do now is to focus on the overall range, because today we spent a lot of our efforts focusing on the 320i pre-facelift model. So this is information that we've received from a BMW dealership. As we mentioned, for the pre-facelift model, timing chain issues on the N20 engine, including oil leaks and the oil pump failure that could potentially happen to a car that you're looking at. Another aspect that we didn't mention but is important to note is coolant leaks, because that is something that you also need to look out for, specifically the top radiator hose and the connector pipe. If you're going to opt for a facelift model, the facelift models are much more reliable than the pre-facelift, specifically if you're going to go for a B48 model as opposed to the N20 range. But it's still not a perfect car, because coolant leaks have been reported on that B48 model, specifically coolant leaks by the coolant flange, which is located by the intake manifold, but a BMW specialist did quote us roughly 4,000 Rand to fix this problem, so it's not a major deal. The 318i model, which uses the 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, is prone to turbo failure, which is something to be cognizant of. But overall, the vehicle is a lovely car, and I'm sure with enough digging, you can find the perfect F30 for you. So there you have it, our ultimate guide on how to buy a BMW F30. We hope the information we presented is useful to you. Now all that's left is for you to go onto Cars.co's website or app and find yourself your perfect BMW. Happy shopping!
Cars.co's. Are you busy trying to decide between 2 cars, 3 cars, 4 cars, 5 cars, 6 cars, and getting absolutely lost in all of the specs and all of the different pricing? Well, we have an excellent compare tool on our main website and in our app for you to use. It's very detailed, it's very slick and quick and efficient, and I highly recommend it. I use it all the time when I'm doing research for our car shoots. So check it out. We'll put the link in the description below and tell us what you think. Tell us if it helped you out.